Well, as I said earlier on, Happy New Year. This is the first Sunday of the new year, 2025. And I watched on television the fireworks display in London and heard the Mayor of London announce that the mission statement was an aspiration for hope in the new year. A very noble aspiration, hope in the new year. The Mayor, Sadiq Khan, now Sir Sadiq, as he was mentioned in the New Year's honours list, said that hope would be at the centre of this celebration on New Year's Eve and would be carried into the new year of 25. Hope springs eternal, I have heard it said. And hopefully it will be on all our lips this year as we try to understand the meaning of hope. And in all the messages from all the great and good, all of them have aspired to that value, hope. We hear it expressed in the New Year's statement from Archbishop Eamon Martin, the leader of the Catholic Church in Ireland, and his hope when he said the following in his New Year address: how much humanity needs God's mercy and forgiveness for inflicting the horrors and brutality of war across the world today. In Gaza and in other parts of the Holy Land and the Middle East, in Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Yemen, Myanmar, and the Ukraine. Sadly, the list is long and shameful. And the Archbishop reminded us that Jesus is the door. That's why we celebrate this season, the birth of Jesus Christ. That Jesus is the door, and that entering through that door calls us to leave behind our disputes and our divisions. But as we know here on our own island, that's a very difficult and hard thing to be called upon to do. And we fail over and over again. We continuously offer up prayers for peace in all those places immersed in war, as mentioned by Archbishop Eamon. Palestine, Israel, Russia, Ukraine, Myanmar. You could go on endlessly. Many of them don't make the TV screens, even though the loss of life is worse than those that do make the TV screens. And then also the hate that fills our world, other hates. The one that comes to mind at this time of year is misogyny, because we hear of so many crimes against women at this time of year. And we've seen on our TV screens that incredible case in France and the exposure of what happened to one woman who had the courage to speak out. And also the grooming gangs in England against young women, using young women in the most horrendous way. And only yesterday we saw, or at least I saw, an image on my TV screen that upset me terribly. The Foreign Minister of France and the Foreign Minister of Germany flew to Syria to meet with the new leader of Syria. His name, I can't remember at the moment. The new alleged great hope of Syria. And as they approached him, and the German foreign minister, who was a woman, offered her hand, he took his hand away from her and offered his hand to the French foreign minister. In other words, to say, I will not shake the hand of a woman. Fortunately, the French foreign minister had the good grace to withdraw his hand, and none of the representatives from Europe would shake his hand. We wonder where misogyny comes from, and we see it cultivated by the very leaders throughout the world who cultivate the disparaging of women. So we hope in this new year that misogyny will be exposed in all its forms and hatreds of women. And yet, there is time for celebration. To celebrate those ennobled or otherwise in His Majesty's new honour list. Our own great Hugo Duncan is an MBE. Am I the only one that likes Hugo Duncan? At least he does something positive. Hugo Duncan, that great and vital life on BBC. But then also, maybe not known to many people, but the wonderful and brilliant Professor Henry Patterson has received an OBE. And Northern Ireland Olympian Hannah Scott, and captain of the Northern Ireland football team, Marissa Callahan, who once played for Cliftonville, has also received an MBE. Stephen Fry is now Sir Stephen, and I was amazed to read about how difficult a young man Stephen was when he was a young lad. Little did I know that Sir Stephen had spent 4 months on remand in prison when he was 17 years of age. And that was for the theft of credit cards. And now he is a credit to us all. With his wonderful contributions, incredible contributions, his intellect, his support of freedom of thought, free speech, he is really an iconic figure in these islands. And as I said earlier on, many of us will be happy to get through this year in much the same way as we did in 2024. And that might be as much hope that we have. Some will be happy to see the back of 24 because of the suffering or angst it brought them, or even just dealing with the horrors we see regularly on our TV screens. Which brings me back to the Mayor of London, Sir Sadiq, and his desire for hope. Hope is a desire. It's a desire with expectation or belief in fulfillment. And it just doesn't stand there in a vacuum. It's worked on. It's built on. One of Ireland's greatest poets, Seamus Heaney, said, "Don't hope on this side of the grave. But then once in a lifetime, the longed for tidal wave of justice can rise up, and hope and history rhyme. And hope and history rhyme." Indeed, that last line, "and hope and history can rhyme," is much repeated. Over and over again, you hear politicians and others talking about Seamus Heaney's prophetic line, in a way, "and hope and history rhyme." And it's repeated with regarding our own peace here in Northern Ireland. And it's not too hard to understand why such a profound poetic line would inspire. But like all things in life, there is always a paradox. What of our hope can't be reconciled? What if we hope for different things? We hope for different things measurably violent to each other, that what we hope for will actually cause loss and stress to others. What if that is the sense of our hope? Which brings me back to why we're here and during this season. Because at the end of it all, as Christians, the poetry of our faith is we put our hope in God's will. We hope in God's will because God's will transcend all the aspirations of all men. So on that note, I leave you with the words of our moderator, the Right Reverend Alistair Bell, and the Clerk of the General Synod, Reverend Linda Kane, both of this parish. And in their New Year's speech, or their New Year's address, they said the following: as we bid farewell to 2024, may the power of God's love sustain us through whatever lies in store in 2025. And may we all be blessed beyond measure. Amen to that.